Hello, my friends at home. This week we have been practicing and we've been learning about characters and setting. And we're going to keep working on that today with this book that we're going to read, One Happy Classroom. But before we start reading, I want you to stop and think. And while I'm reading this story to you, if you need to pause the story, you can press the pause button, you can think, and then you can press play when you're ready. So before we get started reading One Happy Classroom, I want you to stop and think. What is a character? We talked about this on Monday when we read a Squiggly story. So you can pause if you need to think and then press play. The characters are who the story is about. So when we read a book and a Squiggly story, the main characters were the boy and his older sister. In this book, One Happy Classroom, what do you think the characters might be? There could be one character, there could be a lot of characters. And I want you to think, keep that in your brain as I read to you. And then on Tuesday when we read a Squiggly story, we talked about setting. Setting is where a story takes place. So you can stop and remember from a Squiggly story, what was the setting? The book took place at home. The boy was in his house with his sister. And then later on in the story, the boy was at school. So there are two settings in that book. So as we read, I want you to think, who is this story about? I want you to think, where does this story happen? So we're going to read One Happy Classroom. And before we read, I want to remind you, this is the front cover on the book. On the front cover, we have the title, One Happy Classroom, and then we have the name of the authors and the illustrator. So this book was written by Charnan Simon, and it was illustrated by Rebecca McKillop Thornburg. So the author is the person who writes the book. That's Charnan Simon. And the illustrator, Rebecca McKillop Thornburg, is the one who drew the pictures. So when you write a story, you are the author. And when you draw the pictures that go with your story, you're the illustrator. So we are practicing, we're learning how to read, and we're practicing to become authors and illustrators ourselves. So we find all of this on the front cover of the page of the book. And then this is the back cover. And the back cover is usually pretty empty. So we start at the front cover. So as we read, by the end of today's lesson, we're going to practice characters and setting and figuring out who are the characters, who are the setting. And by the end of my time reading this to you, you are going to be able to figure out who that is. Let's get started. So, One Happy Classroom. One happy classroom. You can see some of the things that are in the classroom. Two smiling teachers. Can you find who the two teachers are? Three leaning towers made by four busy builders. Five show and tellers. Can you find them all? So as you read, think about, who do you see on the pages? Where are they? 6 good listeners. Let's look for the good listeners. 7 great painters using 8 different colors. 9 pairs of partners. 10 crunchy apples. 9 high climbers over 8 hide and seekers. 7 resters, quiet resters. 7 quiet resters. Where are they now? Who is in the picture? You can stop and think. If you need to pause the video, that's okay. 6. In a hurry. 5. Big projects. 4. Busy workers. 3. Clean cages. Can you find all of them? Can you find the 3 clean cages? 2. Stuck zippers. And 1 happy classroom. And that's the end of our story. So what you're going to do now is you are going to stop and think about the setting and the characters, and you can follow the directions on Google Classroom. Bye, my friends.